Check this out. This is from News 7 Boston. I don't exactly know why it's from Boston, but it's a certified NewsGuard source, and they're telling us it's happening, so I'll take it, even though the DNC is in Milwaukee. Police agencies pulling out of Democratic convention. More than 100 police agencies are withdrawing from agreements to send personnel to bolster security at next month's Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee, in part because they're concerned about a recent directive ordering police in the city to stop using tear gas to control crowds. A citizen oversight commission last week directed Milwaukee's police chief to publicly account for why the department used tear gas during protests in late May and early June after the killing of George Floyd, and to change Milwaukee's police policies to ban the use of tear gas and pepper spray. The Milwaukee Fire and Police Commission said in its order, police chief Alfonso Morales could be fired if he fails to comply. That order came amid intense scrutiny of police tactics in Portland, Oregon. This we understand. They say since the Milwaukee order was issued, more than 100 law enforcement agencies in Wisconsin and across the country decided against coming to Milwaukee, Morales told the WTMJ on Tuesday. They were concerned with directives placed on the police department, including not allowing tear gas or pepper spray. Now, the tear gas thing, I'm kind of like, New York doesn't really use tear gas.
Okay.
I don't think Chicago does either. And they're effective in their crowd control. New York, New York does use pepper spray, but New York rarely engages in that kind of tactic or weapon, you know, sprays. So I'm almost like, is that it?
Well, think about the layout of New York too. I mean, you're closed in. You know, the streets are not. They are kind of wide in some areas, but you know, you put a tear gas down, it's not just going to spread out. It's going to go up and into people's windows and into buildings.
Yeah.
So the environment in New York compared to where they're actually using it, like Milwaukee is significantly smaller and more open. So it can disperse a little bit more. So I can see how it being a problem in bigger cities.
A lot of people also don't realize that tear gas has to go somewhere. It doesn't just it's not just gone.
Right.
So I think for New York and Chicago, there was an issue with their plumbing systems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yep.
Because New York is a big rock. It doesn't absorb or anything. It just goes into the water.
Yep, just concrete.
So I don't know exactly. Yeah, it's actually you can actually look at a map of Manhattan. This is really cool, and you can see a zigzag of skyscrapers. That's where the bedrock is, because so the smaller buildings are on the weaker ground, and then they build out skyscrapers on the rock.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You ever see the videos of them doing the subways in New York?
Mm-mm.
It's just a massive rock, and they have this huge machine just ripping through it. It's really cool, actually.
Cool, yeah.
Anyway, so they say the convention scheduled for August 17th to the 20th at Wisconsin Center in downtown Milwaukee has been scaled down to a mostly virtual event, with only about 300 people expected to attend in person. Most of the speeches will be delivered online from other locations, though former Vice President Joe Biden has said he will be in Milwaukee to accept the nomination. Despite the event's smaller scale, police are preparing for potentially large protests in and around the venue. Oh boy.
Yep.
The left, as you know, I see conservatives say this all the time, that the far left Antifa are the Democratic Party.
That's exactly what I was thinking, though. Like, who's going to be protesting this place?
The far left.
For what reason?
They hate the Democrats with a passion.
In
2016, there was like 10 protesters at the RNC.
Okay.
It was boring, and I was like, wow, nothing. I thought, I thought the RNC, because of back in 2004, it was crazy. Like, I wasn't, paying much attention, but there were people brought Molotovs and shields, and they got arrested by the FBI and a bunch of crazy stuff like that.
The DNC convention?
The RNC
in
2004.
RNC. Oh, okay.
So everybody thought that 2016's RNC was going to be crazy because it was Donald Trump, and everybody's like, oh no, it's Trump, he's a bad person. And no, nobody showed up. But you know where they did show up? Thousands of people descended on the DNC, tried jumping barriers, were trying to knock them down, fighting with the police.
What was their message? Did they even have one?
The DNC? Or
the people who showed up to protest the DNC?
It was,
do they ever have a message? Do they?
They do, but it's dejected. It's a bunch of different groups, right?
Right.
For the most part, it was the Democratic Party, is complicit. They think the corporate Dems are evil. They still do. You follow a lot of these progressive personalities, and they will rip on the Democrats all day and night.
Yeah.
It's where we all get along. The corporate Democrats are trash. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, who's voting for Biden? Because the progressives, I really do think the far left, at least some of them, want Trump to win. Did we talk about this the other day? A little bit?
A couple times it's come up, yeah.
Yeah, I remember back in 2016, there were some far leftists who hated Trump but told me they were going to vote for him, like people I knew from Occupy.
Okay.
And I laughed about it, and they were like, hey, man, They were like, you get Trump in, it's all gonna go down faster. And I was like, you think that if you vote for Trump, like the country is going to fall apart? And like, oh, definitely. Because their view was like voting for a celebrity TV personality over Hillary Clinton, who worked in the State Department, was like a sure path towards everything crumbling and falling apart.
Little did they know.
Right. Ended up having the best economy of our generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, their argument now would be, no, we were right. That's what they're all saying.
Because of what's happening now?
Because of COVID, because of, the riots. They're actually, it's funny to see tweets now, like finally after 3.5 years, where they're like, I knew the Trump presidency was going to be a disaster. I'm like, oh, shut up. No, you didn't. We had 3 years of the best economy we've ever had.
Yeah, exactly.
And all you did was scream the whole time.
And none of this is his fault. It's COVID and then Democratic, leadership being terrible at their jobs.
It is.
Yeah.
That's what's funny about how they're attacking him over the federal deployment in Portland.
Right.
Because it's like, you complain that he's not doing anything about the lockdowns, like he should mandate every state to do it.
Yep.
Then you complain when there's a small group of people defending a courthouse in Portland.
Yep, that's it.
That's just the stupidest. There's no way to win.
Rightly so, defending this courthouse because it's being bombarded nightly for weeks now. How long has it been being attacked?
60-something days.
Well, that's when the riots started in Portland, but when it was like the 35th day that
the 39th is when they breached the doors.
Oh, when they breached the doors.
And started a fire inside or whatever.
Okay.
But they probably were attacking it before that.
Right.
They were trying to set up, initially they were trying to set up the PAZ, I guess, the Portland Autonomous Zone, or you call it. I don't know what district
so
it is.
At least 30 days, though, at least, that this courthouse has been being attacked. Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And it's funny how Trump actually wasn't doing anything. Some conservative personalities were saying that Trump was being told to not engage because people liked the protests. So Trump basically was like, okay. Yeah. And then he made his stand. Now they're trying to argue that Trump made his stand at Mount Rushmore, and he was on July 3rd. He's like, we're going to do this, that, and this. The only problem, the riots had stopped. Trump was too late. With Trump, it was a month earlier. It was a month before he even said anything. He wasn't sending people out. He said it's up to the states and the cities, man.
Yep.
They're the ones who got to take care of it.
They've made it really clear over the past couple months, too, that we are in control. You back off.
Well, I'll tell you what's funny, man. This is Milwaukee, where the Democratic National Convention needs to have their gathering. I don't know what they're going to do. I'll tell you what. Let me just speculate real quick. Joe Biden vows to be there. There's going to be massive protests. No one thinks a lot of people think Joe Biden won't be the nominee because it's just like...
I don't think so. That's me.
So is there a possibility that something happens there with a lack of security that results in Joe Biden not being the nominee?
Interesting.
That could result in a massive boost in sympathy for the Democratic Party.
I'm going to need more information. What are you speculating?
I'm speculating that we're sending a very old and feeble man into the fray with no security is a really, really dumb idea.
Yeah.
Joe Biden absolutely must have security, and I'm sure he will have Secret Service. Hopefully that's enough. They need their police.
Yeah.
This man needs to be protected. You don't got to like the guy to recognize, I don't care who you are in politics, we can't have crazy people going around doing crazy things.
That's absolutely true.
But I'll tell you what, man. If something happens to Joe Biden because the cops say they're pulling out, I'll be furious.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, a lot of people will be very, very, very sympathetic to the Democratic Party.
Man.
They will be.
Well, we're calling it here, so
I'm not calling anything. I'm saying
all right, well, I'm through you, I'm saying if that happens, we already called it out and see it ahead of time, and it's like
it's not even
rather conspiratorial.
It isn't.
Got to say.
No, it isn't. It's absolutely not conspiratorial to say sending in a presidential candidate into a city that expects large protests with no police presence is one of the stupidest things you can do. And I tell you what, it's not conspiratorial at all to say greatly loathed Obama administration VP, no police, large protests, very dangerous for an old man. Very dangerous.
I don't know. So
if I said my grandpa walked into a crowd of Antifa throwing bricks at people's faces, you'd be like, that's a conspiracy theory if he does. I'd be like,
I'm not even gonna to say that. I just think that Biden's gonna go out and announce his retirement. I think that's been what I've been saying for a long time. I see what you're saying. Okay, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that he's gonna have his own entourage and roll in, do speech,
do you know
retire, and roll out.
The amount of security they have for buildings that they use for these conventions is absurd. They do like full dog sweeps 3 times.
There you go.
They have to lock down every door. Well, if the police aren't coming, they're not going to have that. I mean, they'll probably have feds to take care of some of it.
Okay.
But they need police.
That I do agree.
And they don't have it because of their own policies. Now, back in Chicago...
Well, this doesn't say that no police will be there. It's 100 different agencies have said that we don't want to be there because of these specific things. You know, that's not to say that they're not even going to show up. It's that they're upset that they can't control a crowd like they would like to if they needed to. So they're calling attention to a specific problem that they see because they're police and they've probably dealt with this many times before, so they know what's coming. They're just covering themselves. I don't blame them at all.
Well, this is interesting. It says not all police departments withdrew because of tear gas. Apparently, does this mean there's no police? It says Madison withdrew because of COVID. Madison originally committed to providing 100 officers to Milwaukee for what was... Maybe they're only referring to this group, but this is interesting. I don't know. They say that Fond du Lac police chief William Lamb told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that the agreements were collapsing, saying he expects other agencies in the state to also withdraw. Lamb chairs the Wisconsin Police Executive Group, which is made up of police chiefs from cities with populations of more than 20,000 people. Lamb sent a letter to Milwaukee police on July 6 outlining his organization's concerns about limiting the use of tear gas and pepper spray. West Allis police first sent a letter to Morales with concerns, and they basically say the same thing. I think they would just cancel it. I really do. I think they'll make it virtual.
So. I think you're right. I think that there's the chances of them just going, no police? All right, well, the DNC will just go online, and Biden can stay in his basement.
Exactly. They're going to keep him in his basement.
Dead serious. Yep.
They're going to... That's all they've been doing.
I know.
There's no... and now there's probably not even going to be a debate. And because of COVID, Trump can't have rallies.
Yeah,
this is a ridiculous election cycle, man. You know,
anything to shut him down. Anything. That's what a lot of people are saying. Like, all of this is ridiculous. They just want to try to beat Trump in any way possible. And what I've been saying for months now, they're firing on all cylinders, firing every single thing they got because they know the average American's like, Trump's good. We like Trump. We like our economy. We like making money. We like being safe in our homes. Period.
We could get a little conspiratorial and argue that the Democratic governors are colluding to restrict Trump's abilities to campaign, and they're trying to destroy the economy. We could get conspiratorial, but I don't think we need to. My question is, why is it that Andrew Cuomo will allow Black Lives Matter rallies and protests, Bill de Blasio will, and then condemn some like an outdoor concert, which is the same thing basically.
Yep.
Why did Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, have these 2 gym owners arrested? Meanwhile, the gym is literally connected to a Dollar General with probably hundreds or thousands of people coming in and out every day.
Yep.
And they wanted to have a small handful of people, like a private limited membership thing for their gym. They got arrested. Why? That makes no sense.
Yeah, the hypocrisy is real. We see it all over the place, and people are seeing it.
I'll tell you what, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people that absolutely hates conspiracy theories.
Okay.
And I want evidence to lead me to the conclusion.
Yep.
But with as crazy as everything has been over the past few months, I've never been more conspiratorial. And there are some other journalists and high-profile like political personalities I've texted with, and they all basically feel the same way. Like, how is this possible? How are all of these things? You know what, man? I just can't buy it.
I can't either.
Why would they allow Black Lives Matter protests and then argue that everything else has to be shut down? Because the Black Lives Matter protests were helping the Democrats.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fact. Gallup just released a poll saying 2 out of 3 people supported the protests. So even people who understood that COVID was bad apparently agreed, or the polls are wrong. Because I'll tell you what, man, I can't imagine being somebody who got fired from your job and then going, I'm not allowed to work, but I love the protests.
I'm not allowed to go to church.
But I love the protests.
But I love the protests.
Can't go to a funeral.
My father is getting chemo on his deathbed, but I love the protests. I don't buy it.
How many stories have I heard of people not even allowed to go visit their dying parents that then ended up dying, and they weren't even able to say goodbye just because they weren't allowed to go to the hospital by themselves alone to visit their dying parents. How many? And yet these people are out marching together, dancing in the streets with no masks. It's like,
yep.
I want to state, there's nothing wrong with peaceful protesting. That is not what we're talking about right now.
I love peaceful protesting.
We are talking about the hypocrisy of allowing the protests and not allowing anything else. That's the problem.
And now they're locking everything down again.
Exactly.
And they're printing money. How about that? I hope you guys are buying your gold. Because they're coming to print your money or whatever. It's the opposite of stealing your money.
Yeah.
You see, Alex Jones, you say they were going to snatch up your income tax.
No, they're just making your money worth nothing.
They're just making it rain.
Yeah, turn into
Buy
paper.
it all while you can because the dollar's... Yeah, gold's going up. I guess Bitcoin, I have no idea, man. When I found out that they were going to start printing money again, I was like... I look at my Facebook and I see all my progressive friends cheering. Like, yay, print more money. And I'm like, you really have no idea how money works.
No, they don't.
They don't. I'm not going to pretend like I'm chief economist at any prestigious organization.
Yeah.
But I can understand the concept of supply and demand. And if you just keep printing out money and then stores say they can't accept cash, that's the freaky thing. I'm like, how are you going to spend the dollar? You know, so there's reports going around that because of the coin shortage, some stores are saying straight up, no cash accepted anymore. So I'm thinking this, okay, if my local stores won't accept cash because there's no coins, so what? I hire like someone to mow my lawn. They walk up and they're like, that'll be $50. And I pull out a $50 bill and they go, what am I supposed to do with that? Well, it's money. I know, but I can't spend it. Can you just PayPal me or something? You'd be like, oh yeah, I guess. All of a sudden the cash becomes worthless.
Yeah, and every single transaction with anything is suddenly now tracked.
Man, I'm glad I got Bitcoin. I don't got a lot, but I'm glad I got cryptocurrencies. Not that I'm super confident in those necessarily, but they're just one form of easy to transfer, value. And we'll see, man. This is truly, truly unprecedented.
Indeed.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.